Welcome back to the Creatively Curious podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Walter. In this week's episode, I'll be reviewing week 6 of the Creative Visionary program, which is on color and specifically color value. So we actually spend 2 weeks on color, week 6 and week 7. And this week, the color components or there's 5 components of color. So value, complements, saturation, harmony, and temperature. And this week in week 6, we'll be reviewing value and complements. So if you've listened to the previous podcast episodes, you'll remember week, was it 4 was on value? And so value is the lightness or darkness of a shape or area in the art. And so color is no different. And we still need to be thinking about value when we're thinking about colors. So last week we worked in black and white and did some paintings that way. And then now this week we'll be introducing color. And the way, from what I remember from last year, what we did is kind of do a limited palette. So maybe use 2 colors and then white and black. And that's a really good way to explore these ideas of color because you're limiting your palette. So you're not overwhelmed by a whole bunch of colors. You just limit them to 2, but then use all the different values of those colors plus black and white. So the 5 key takeaways of this week is number 1, the most visually powerful components of color is value. That's the lightness or darkness in our art. If the value works in the art and everything is in the right place, so that's design, so will the color. So we always want to be thinking about value, even when we introduce color. Complementary colors are found in nature and they are rich. When there are lots of colors in all your colors, things get richer. Now, that point I remember thinking was kind of new to me last year, and there's something called like the mother color. So you take all the different colors that you're using and then you mix them together. And even if you're just using like a little bit of each color, then then they all kind of complement each other. And that's one thing that was new for sure for me. And I don't know if I was doing it without knowing it, but I definitely wasn't consciously mixing colors on my palette that way. Secondary colors are made with the primary colors. So primary colors, I think a lot of people will know what the primary colors are. Primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. We learned that pretty early. And then secondary colors are made from those. So red and yellow make orange, yellow and green, yellow and blue make green, and red and blue make purple. And so the purple, orange, green are the secondary colors. And beautiful colors can be made by mixing complements. And so the complementary colors are red and green, yellow and purple or violet, and blue and orange. So you see that a lot in actually sports teams. I don't know if anyone's an Oilers fan here, but they're red and orange. And I think I'm trying to think of other FedEx, I think is blue and orange. What did I say the Oilers were? Did I say they were blue and orange? Um, so let's see. For anyone watching the video, I'm going to pull out a color wheel. So then we work on a color wheel this week. So then you have your primary colors, red, yellow, blue, and then the complementary color, the secondary colors, sorry, are from blue and yellow, green, and then red and yellow, we have orange, red and blue, we have violet. And then going across, those are the complementary colors across the color wheel. So violet is across from yellow, blue is across from orange, green is across from red. And then when you mix those complementary colors, then you get these interesting colors here, which I for the record, don't love those colors in the middle. They're very earthy. I'm kind of more drawn to like the primary colors for sure. But and then we worked with two colors, yellow ochre and a dark red, and made a value scale of those colors, which is similar to the value scale that we did in week 4 in black and white. And then this time it just incorporated the color, yellow ochre, and then describing that color in terms of value on that value scale from 1 to 10, 1 being in the black and white was white and 10 was black. So really thinking about the color in terms of that value scale, and then adding light to go lighter and adding black to go darker. And then the Terra Rosa I used for my red, I decided was a value 8. So quite a bit darker than the yellow ochre, which was a 5. Adding black to go dark to the 10, and then adding white to go light. And really beautiful colors actually with that. I love that color Terra Rosa. And then, yeah, basically just thinking about color in terms of value and limiting our palette. So in summary, the value is still a very, very important component, even when we're introducing, not even when, but especially when we're introducing color. And I feel like this point last year when I took the program, I started to get kind of confused in my brain because I had never really, mixed the complementary colors together. At least I think I had mentioned that not consciously had I done that. And thinking about this comes next week, but different components of the color, I don't think I had learned. So I felt a little bit confused at this point last year. So we'll see how things progress going forward. And like, even I have a couple paintings that I'm working on right now that I don't believe I've kind of incorporated each color into each other, at least not mixing them on a palette. But I do use a lot of like glazing, which I learned last year over the colors, and I kind of mix the colors. That's one thing I feel like I've always done is mix the colors right on the palette, not on the palette, on the canvas or on the piece that I'm working on the board. So I'll mix them that way instead of mixing really well on a palette and then placing that color on. So anyway, I'm a little bit confused still. Hopefully things will gel in my brain, and with the addition of next week's information on color, and then just going forward and working on, I wanted to do more of these color wheels last year. So, I'm just calling them red, blue, and yellow, but there's lots of different reds. You can use cadmium red light or medium or dark, cadmium yellow light, Hansa yellow. Like there's lots of different primary colors that you can use that will then change the color wheel. And so I did want to do more of those color wheels to really get an idea, because then you can keep them and get an idea of what the color looks like when they're mixed. So that's my plan. Should I have time. Anyway, I'd love to hear comments. If you do a whole bunch of color wheels, if you're mixing on the palette, if you mix on the canvas, I'd love to know what your process is and what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And if you like this podcast, I'd appreciate it if you like, rate, and review it. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you next episode. Thank you.